Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Our topic today is something that impacts literally every single aspect of our lives, even if we rarely stop to think about it. I mean, have you ever tossed something into a bin, walked away, and just completely forgotten about it? We all do it, every single day. Out of sight, out of mind, right? But the truth is, the journey of that discarded item is kind of just beginning. Today, we're going to explore the vast, hidden, and honestly deeply fascinating systems of waste management and recycling. We'll trace the entire journey, from the everyday methods of trash disposal that we've relied on for decades, all the way up to the systemic future of economic sustainability. I absolutely love breaking down complex systems like this, because once you see the hidden machinery of how our world actually operates, you simply can't unsee it. Okay, let's dive into this agenda. First up, we'll look at managing our solid waste. Then we'll move into recycling processes and technologies. Third, we're going to tackle hazardous and e-waste handling, followed closely by strategies for waste reduction. And finally, we'll tie the whole shebang together with the circular economy principle. All right, starting with Section 1, managing our solid waste. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this legacy model we've used for generations. It's a super straightforward, linear model to get rid of trash. It's a pretty simple mindset. You create waste, you put it somewhere out of sight, and it quote-unquote goes away. But as we're increasingly aware, away is actually a very real physical place that requires intense management. We handle this through a foundational triad. Step 1 is collection. I want you to think about the massive daily logistical undertaking of physically gathering up all the solid waste we produce from our homes and businesses. It's a huge operation. Step 2 is treatment. Actually, before waste can just be left somewhere, it often has to be processed in various ways to shrink its physical volume or to manage some of its immediate biological traits. And finally, Step 3 is disposal. In the traditional model of waste management, this is usually a landfill where the material is permanently discarded and basically entombed. It is a strict one-way street from creation straight to disposal. But looking at that linear process brings us to an absolutely crucial paradigm-shifting question. What happens to the waste we don't dispose of? What if that one-way street had a purposeful off-ramp? I really want you to keep this question in mind, because this exact thought is the pivot point of modern waste management. It forces us to look completely away from those standard disposal methods and start asking how we can extract ongoing value from the things we leave behind. That brings us to Section 2, recycling processes and technologies. This concept right here marks the true beginning of our systemic evolution away from that baseline model. With recycling, we aren't simply throwing things away anymore, we're actively intervening in the timeline of our materials. Recycling processes and technologies allow us to recover materials rather than just discard them. Think about the profound shift this represents in our engineering and infrastructure. Instead of Step 3 always resulting in permanent disposal, we deploy specialized, highly advanced technologies that act like a bridge. These technologies reverse engineer discarded, end-of-life items backward into reusable raw materials. And this goes way beyond just tossing some paper into a blue bin at home. We are talking about sophisticated, industrial-scale technologies designed from the ground up to capture the latent value sitting in our solid waste and deliberately redirect it right back into the production cycle. It's an absolute technological marvel when you really think about it. Moving on to Section 3, hazardous and e-waste handling. While standard recycling technologies handle our everyday materials beautifully, we have to recognize that modern technology brings some intense, urgent complications to the global waste ecosystem. We can't treat all waste the same, and the stakes here are significantly higher. And this brilliantly illustrates the divide. On one side of the equation, you have standard solid waste management, your everyday collection, treatment, and disposal of relatively benign materials. But look at the other side, e-waste and hazardous waste handling. Our smartphones, our complex computers, our industrial chemical byproducts, these aren't just normal trash. These represent highly dangerous subcategories. You literally cannot put these materials through standard treatment or standard recycling. They require incredibly specialized, often delicate management to prevent severe environmental contamination and human harm. The sheer complexity of modern technological life demands an entirely separate, highly rigid handling ecosystem just to keep us all safe. All right, let's look at Section 4, strategies for waste reduction. So if dealing with standard solid waste is logistically heavy and handling hazardous e-waste is incredibly complex and dangerous, what's the absolute best way to manage our materials? Well, the answer isn't about better disposal, it's entirely proactive. It's about preventing the waste from existing in the first place.
If our true goal is to stop waste, we have a clear hierarchy of action. At the very top, our number one priority is source reduction. This means intelligently designing products or changing our consumption habits so that the waste is simply never generated. I mean, if it's not created, it doesn't need to be collected, treated, or recycled. Next down the line is reuse. If an item absolutely must be created, can we use it multiple times in its current form? And finally, repair. Before we permanently discard a broken item into the waste stream, can we just fix it? Source reduction, reuse, and repair are the absolute most powerful interventions we have because they attack the root of the problem long before materials ever enter the traditional waste management systems we talked about earlier.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds into our final concept, the circular economy principle. Okay, every single concept we've discussed so far, from traditional linear disposal to complex recycling technologies to proactive source reduction, it all converges right here. The circular economy principle is a systemic economic approach that seamlessly integrates both our advanced recycling technologies and our proactive waste reduction strategies to continuously utilize materials rather than disposing of them. So the really crucial point here is that this is no longer just about managing trash. It's a blueprint for an entirely new way to structure human economics. It literally grabs that straight linear line of collection, treatment, disposal, and bends it into a continuous, infinite closed loop. By combining those strategies of source reduction, reuse, and repair with specialized recycling technologies, our materials just cycle through the economy over and over again. This principle is the absolute pinnacle of where global waste management must ultimately go for us to achieve true sustainability. Which brings us to our final, provocative thought to leave you with. What is your role in source reduction and the circular economy? The frameworks, the reduction strategies, and the recycling technologies clearly exist, but a circular economy relies entirely on our active, daily participation to function. Every choice you make matters. I want you to look at the items around you today, think about the journey they are on, and ask yourself where they fit into this loop. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking great questions, keep looking deeply at the systems around you, and I will see you next time.